Why people with Asperger's get upset. 14 reasons and 14 tips. Individuals on the autism spectrum, such as those with Asperger's and high functioning autism, are extraordinary and gifted individuals. Like any human being, however, there are times when they do get upset. In fact, they can be notorious in getting upset over circumstances that may seem unusual to most people. They may seem to consistently and predictably get upset in some situations. Other times, they may have an intense, unpredictable outburst or worse, have a meltdown. Many people sometimes wonder why they get upset sometimes. Loving parents of such individuals want them to be happy, and when they are not, it can sometimes be confusing. I, the author of this video, is an individual with high-functioning autism, and those who have known me when I was younger in elementary school have witnessed me getting upset different times. In this video, I am going to talk about some of the reasons why people on the spectrum get upset in hopes of clarifying the confusion and misunderstanding that exists in regards to it. There are 14 main reasons as to why people on the autism spectrum get upset. The first common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they have trouble expressing what's on their mind. Imagine struggling with something in which you feel you need help. Imagine not being able to get the help because you don't know how to state the problem. You know what the problem is, but you can't put it in words and get help as a result. You can imagine the frustration. People on the spectrum often have to deal with this on a daily basis. The reason why this happens is because sometimes it is hard for people on the spectrum to articulate an idea into words. This is especially the case when things are abstract. It takes effort to choose just the right words, and when they are chosen, it will still feel like there could be better words that could have been chosen. This can be frustrating on its own. They can cope with this struggle, however, by practicing to talk to an individual when they are upset. Another tip that is helpful is writing their thoughts down on a piece of paper. The second common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they sometimes struggle to clearly identify something that is upsetting them. Imagine being stuck with something, or overwhelmed, irritated, or upset about something, but you're not exactly sure what it is. Imagine there's a problem you're facing that you want to fix, but you can't because the cause of the problem seems invisible. People on the spectrum often deal with this on a daily basis as well. It is hard to face a problem or fix a problem because it is hard to find the clues to a problem and draw conclusions on what it is. This often happens because the brain is wired in a way that it causes them to have trouble making inferences and seeing the bigger picture. They can cope with this struggle, however, by again practicing to talk to the individual when they are upset and also writing their thoughts down on a piece of paper. The third common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because of being overwhelmed. Many people on the spectrum struggle when they have to multitask or have to process several bits of information at one time. An autistic mind has a great ability to focus on things, especially when it comes to focusing on one thing at a time. This is a gifted ability. However, when more than one thing needs to be focused on, significant struggle starts to arise for the individual. This causes significantly more amount of effort needed to be made, and a greater chance of loss, a greater chance of losing track of their thoughts in the process. This can be overwhelming. Significant stress can be added when such a situation happens during pressure, such as during a job or crucial moments. For example, when an individual has to socialize, they have to focus on eye contact, following what they say, read body language, and also think about what they should say to the individual. As a result, many individuals on the spectrum may find this to be just one of the many reasons why they find socializing hard. This struggle can be dealt with by learning to break tasks down into smaller chunks, master the subcomponents. Writing things down on lists is a helpful way of doing this. The fourth common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they sometimes feel like they are being neglected. The struggle with socializing, identifying reasons why they get upset when they do know why, causes other individuals to have trouble understanding them. A struggle for others to understand individuals on the spectrum often causes individuals to not feel understood when they wish they can. As a result, they will eventually feel neglected by people in general. This kind of feeling will make them feel disappointed, sad, or even angry. Future events can act as reminders that can trigger these feelings and make an individual seem upset in ways that seem off or out of line. They can cope with this struggle, however, by learning to express honestly how they feel using simple, clear, and straight to the point wording. They can gain practicing talking by others individuals expressing how they feel. Writing their thoughts down on a piece of paper, again, is also helpful. The fifth common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they often feel like they're different, want to fit in, and be accepted. Like any human being, people on the spectrum want to feel appreciated and accepted. However, being that many of these individuals are in fact different in many ways, they often struggle to fit in. This can, as a result, cause them to feel lonely, isolated, feel let down, and upset. Again, different events can trigger these kind of feelings. Individuals can cope with this struggle by learning how to be mindful and learning to love and accept who they are. The sixth common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because of heightened sensitivity. Imagine certain touches or noises that you experience every day to be very uncomfortable or, in fact, unbearable to the point it's painful. Imagine trying to live your life trying to avoid these sensations or trying to cope with it. People on the spectrum often deal with this sensitivity struggles on a daily basis. Trying to cope with it is stressful, and this contributes to some of the reasons why individuals on the spectrum get upset. However, individuals can still cope with it by either learning techniques to avoid uncomfortable stimuli or by learning to slowly get used to it using a mind over a matter approach. The seventh common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because being aware of multiple reasons that lead to the frustration. Many frustrating situations are caused by more than one frustrating reason instead of just one. Oftentimes, when people are frustrated about something, they look at the source of the situation as just one situation instead of several situations combined. People on the spectrum are often good at seeing and being aware of multiple reasons. People on the spectrum are good at focusing on the detail. This is a gift because it can help them resolve a problem that might frustrate them. However, this can also make a person more upset before resolving it though. Being aware of the multiple source problems is like being fully upset at several reasons at the same time instead of just one. This can make the person often more upset at the same situation compared to another person who may not be as upset. Individuals can cope with this by honoring the fact that this is a gift and it allows them to already be one step ahead to most people in releasing the source of the problem because they are already aware of what they are. The eighth common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is when they feel like people don't care. People on the spectrum are actually very aware of what people do. Oftentimes, they can observe some of the unjust that goes on in the world, such as government, corporate, or political corruption. Teachers at school may not really want to spend the time to help individuals who struggle. They may find they seem to not care to the point to really want to make the effort to understand them. People on the spectrum are aware of this. These sort of things may upset most people if they are aware of them. However, individuals on the spectrum often can fixate on such awarenesses, and this could cause them to be more upset than most people. Individuals can cope with this by understanding that people make mistakes. Every mistake a person does is caused by some level of unknowing and innocence. As Jesus says, "Forgive those because they know not what they do." When people make mistakes, it is because they are like little kids. They do not know better on a certain level. The ninth common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because of struggle with change. Individuals on the spectrum do not like change. The reason why is because the mind of such a person has trouble switching from one brain center to another. This, as a result, causes individuals to fixate, hyper-focus on a task, prefer a specific method or routine, instead of being open to other methods and struggles to snap them out of the emotional state. Generally, it takes more effort for an individual to stop one task and start a new one. In other words, it's hard for an individual to change gears or switch mindset. It takes more effort and energy in order to do it successfully. This, as a result, can cause individuals to dislike change. They have to push themselves to create new routine. They can, however, cope with this by learning how to push themselves and realizing it isn't as bad as it initially seems. The 10th common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because it is harder for them to snap out of an emotional state. Being that the autistic brain is wired in a way makes switching a thought or task hard, this makes snapping out of an emotional state hard as well. For example, if someone is upset about something that someone said to them that hurts them, they may dwell on the upset feeling for a while. When they are upset, it is often hard for them to focus on other things that require focus, like reading or homework. In other words, in order for them to snap out of the emotional state, they have to put in a considerable amount of effort to do so. This often causes them to seem more upset in certain situations. They can, however, cope with it by again learning to push themselves to switch a mindset and understanding that when they do get out of an emotional state, it is well worth it. The 11th common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they struggle with short-term memory. Imagine being at work and your boss telling you to do a task. You try to listen and make sure you understand everything because you want to do it right, but you only get half of the information and the rest of it just seems to fly over your head. You might find you have to ask the people to repeat the instructions over again. You're afraid they will get upset, frustrated, and impatient. Eventually, they do. This is common for individuals who struggle with short-term memory. This, as a result, makes many things that seem easy for some to be challenged for people on the spectrum. There are ways to cope with this, such as writing things down. However, the struggle needs to be pushed through. This can contribute to added stress and anxiety. People can, however, cope with the short-term memory by learning to write things down. The 12th common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because their emotions can be more intense and focused. Many individuals on the spectrum often claim their emotions can actually be more intense compared to other people. This may not be a proven fact for many, being we can't live in other people's minds. However, when they are around other people during certain situations, this can seem to prove true. Many individuals often laugh harder at certain scenes in movies, get more upset when individuals know that they've passed away, or get angrier during situations that seem more upsetting, like waiting for food at a slow, busy restaurant. The reason why this is observed is because the hyper-focused nature of the autistic mind. A person on the spectrum has the ability to focus intensely, specifically one thing. This can in return cause them to be more focused when they are upset. An individual cannot get rid of this nature of their mind, but only embrace it, or take certain prescribed medication to cope with it. The 13th common reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because of not knowing why a frustrating or undesirable situation is happening the way it is. They, as a result, become curious as to why it is happening the way it is, and they cannot find out why. It can be hard for them to accept it. Many individuals like to figure things out and find out the reasons why certain things happen. People on the spectrum do not like being confused. Confusion can be one of the biggest fears. It can make them feel anxiety, loss. They will attach these feelings to contributing situations. For example, if an individual has a job interview and is not able to land the job, they may feel more upset about not knowing the reason why they didn't get the job instead of the actual fact that they didn't land the job by itself. When individuals on the spectrum get upset at someone, often they will become significantly less upset when they know why it happened the way it did. Figuring out the reason why certain things happen is actually the solution or coping solution to this particular issue. If they can't immediately figure out the reasoning, then they can try to practice learning how to temporarily accept it for the time being. The 14th reason why people on the spectrum get upset is because they often don't like getting upset at situations they know other people don't get upset about. Because the many reasons mentioned so far, many individuals on the spectrum will get upset at things most people often don't get as upset about. It is hard for individuals to deal with being upset. However, it is even harder for them when they feel like it is something that can only make them upset. The reason why it is the way it is because people often don't like feeling singled out and unfortunate by a specific situation. Being singled out can make an individual upset, as mentioned before. People like to feel like they fit in. However, when this is coupled to something else, such as something that is upsetting, it can magnify anger or anxiety as a result. Individuals can cope with this by learning to accept the fact that sometimes they will be upset over things that others don't. Individuals can learn to accept this by honoring the fact that they are on the spectrum. Being on the spectrum is actually pretty amazing. The autism spectrum condition is loaded with extraordinary qualities that can enrich the world. Being fully aware of this will help an individual accept the challenges. Many individuals on the autism spectrum get upset for various reasons that may not make sense to other people. I have talked about 14 different reasons to help provide more of an understanding as to why such individuals get upset sometimes. These are the main reasons, but there are of course many more. If you know of any other reasons that cause individuals on the spectrum to get upset, please share your insight as well so others can learn more about the Asperger's and high-functioning spectrum condition. I hope you find this video helpful. Thank you for watching.